I'm Luxcana from Luxury Gaming, and I'm here with.
Oyola.
And how did you do today?
I ended up top 32 at Seattle.
Ooh, what did you play?
I played Steel Song again. I just won my third straight top, and Steel Song is my favorite deck.
Well, that's amazing. Let's see your deck.
Yep. So 4 Cindy's, that hasn't really changed. Still one of the best 1-drops in the game for Steel Song. I played 4 Queens. This weekend I elected to play Queens over Robin Hood. The reason being is right now the 3 ink slot is very saturated between Lawrence, Pete, Ariel. Sometimes playing even multiple singers, Ursula 2-drop and Cindy Singer. And I found Queen to be very effective to have Singer 5 effective on turn 2. Not only for a whole new world, but just really controlling the board, as well as during when you play a whole new world, singing it in the mid game when you have 5 ink. Shifting Queen plus Lawrence, shifting Queen plus Pete is a very effective move. So I believe Queen is the better choice in this meta because of how the 3 ink slot in Steel Song is very competitive, and Robin Hood doesn't make the cut. But being 2 allows Steel Song to still be a very effective deck.
The 5, the singer Queen, she also, like, you can -4 attack, then +4 attack on somebody else, so it is really strong.
Yeah, so I use that interaction a few times this weekend, but I was really caring more about that 4/3 body with Singer 5 on turn 2. Ursula Vanessa is Singer 4 that you play as a 2-drop, but her Singer ability is only active on turn 3 and onward. But Queen is able to shift and use Singer 5 the turn it's played when you shift it. So I felt that was very necessary in this format.
Okay.
2 Daisy Ducks, I went down from 3 to 2. It just, the uninkables versus inkable count is very strenuous at this time, so I just wanted to play 2. And the Queen also offers aggression on turn 2, so before I felt my deck was a little slower, hence why I needed 3, but I do feel 2 Daisy Ducks still provides enough aggression.
And how many uninkables are you playing?
I believe it's 15. Don't quote me on this. I don't remember offhand,
okay.
But yep. It's definitely, there's some other choices I omitted that I'll discuss later on.
Perfect.
I played 3 Ursula Vanessas.
Ooh.
On Friday at DLC Seattle, I played a competitive constructed. I actually ran 4 Vanessas, and that was too much, and I was taking cards away that were a little more impactful. So 3, I believe, is the optimal number. 4 is too much, but yeah, her body is very efficient. And on the draw, I prefer playing Ursula Vanessa to get me back into a stabilized board position, because Ursula Vanessa Singer, her 4 health is very sturdy, and that Singer 4 allows me to gain back control by just using my song to destroy. So Ursula Vanessa is very important, and really think about it on the draw, playing it on turn 2.
Okay.
2 Piglets. I needed for Ruby Sapphire. My Friday constructed event, I did abysmal, and I was only on 1 Piglet. But Ruby Sapphire was the number 1 deck in the field this weekend, and Piglet is the reason I was able to 2-0-1 them. It was very good. Steel matchups, I commonly ink it, but it did also provide a lot of value. Just once you go so wide playing a Piglet, they can't just like let the Storm Rage on or Medusa. It's just like there's too many threats. So Piglet sometimes just sneaks in as like, I can't deal with the board.
Are you usually playing Piglet turn 2?
Only against Ruby Sapphire. I often ink it. Otherwise, it's more like a turn 5, turn 6 play as opposed to a turn 2.
Okay.
4 Smee is very typical.
Did you use Piglet and Smee together as a little combination because Piglet's a captain?
Yeah, so that did come up. Most players already recognize that, but it's definitely something to like think about. Just always remember that Piglet is a captain, so don't deal damage. And also remember that Piglet is a captain, so maybe you want the damage on Smee so you can heal up a Rapunzel. Just so be wary. Just don't play Piglet for the sake of playing Piglet. Maybe just letting Smee get dealt a damage will be helping your Rapunzel.
Oh, okay.
4 Pete's, typical, but it is necessary in the format. Emerald Steel has really has problems against Pete, so I've seen some lists going down to 3. I believe that's a mistake, and 4 should be the way to go.
When are you playing Pete?
So Pete, I often will be playing in the mid game, especially post a whole new world. It's just something that I ensure that my opponent really can't punish me after they draw their fresh 7 and their card for the turn to the 8. Pete allows me to ensure that certain cards aren't like be prepped or any of their ramping or drawing. So Pete is or just playing in critical turns. Maybe on turn 5 I will shift queen and then play Pete. Now I know my queen's going to be surviving. No action could clear it because queen has a very weak body, so a lot of removal can commonly remove queen.
Yeah.
For Lawrence, I believe it's one of the main reasons to play Steel Song. It is very overstated on body for 3, provides a lot of pressure, and because it's so sturdy, it loves to be healed up by Rapunzel. Throughout the weekend, I would say maybe 30% of the times, 40% of the times, I use Strength of the Raging Fire or Let the Storm Rage On and Strength of the Raging Fire, targeting my Lawrence, my Ursulas, and then healing up with Rapunzel. So it's a very common play. Um, Even to this day, I mean, Steel Song's been in the format for quite some time, and some players are still a little shocked that I'm doing these plays. Like I say, let's start right on. I'm targeting my guy. They're already putting their guy to the discard pile, or I'm like, no. I want to damage my guy because I want to heal up a Rapunzel, have more tempo, draw more cards, have now a 1/5 body with Rapunzel. But Lawrence is just so amazing, and Lawrence demands 2 actions normally to get resolved, either a challenge and then a challenge again, maybe a song,
Along
maybe
came Zeus.
along came Zeus. Like it requires a lot of action. There's not any cards in the early game that could simply just do challenge once or use one song or one action. It requires multiple things to be done, and especially when you're going wide, how can you do multiple actions addressing Lawrence and then your Ursula, Vanessa, your Cindy? So Lawrence, I believe, is very critical for Steel Song and is one of the reasons to play Steel Song.
Were you worried about potentially a Maui killing the Lawrence when you play Ruby Sapphire?
I actually enjoy that because now I can let the Storm Rage on. Normally, Maui is very challenging to deal with, especially I have so much removal. My Strength of Raging Fire rarely could deal 5 damage. I normally have the Zeus. So even if they challenge it, I'm like, now I'm going to let Storm Rage on, which is typically a dead card versus Ruby Sapphire, now has tremendous value. Now I cycle, got rid of the threat, so it's definitely. There are times where I quest with Lawrence baiting them challenging so I could clear their larger threat.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep. 2 Baloos. So this was, I'll be honest, this list I didn't test. I rolled with it based on my experience on Friday afternoon by doing so poorly against Ruby Sapphire. I drew 5 times with it, and Baloo, I already knew Baloo was very good against Beat Prep and Sisu. This won me a lot of games this weekend. Definitely, it's insurance for Beat Prep. So there's one omission that you may have noticed in the 2 drops. I don't play Bare Necessities. Bare Necessities is awful against Ruby Sapphire. I used to think it was okay, or maybe against A Whole New World, I want to see if they had the beat prep. But another insurance policy post A Whole New World is Baloo. I will gladly play this if they have the beat prep. I gain 2 lore, and then the following turn I could play my hand and Pete. So now beat prep is now gone. So Baloo is essentially, in a weird way, is my Bare Necessities because it's like you're forced to play the beat prep, but even though you're forced to play it, I still gain 2 lore. I'm allowed to apply pressure and walk into my opponent's like mass removal. So, but in the past, Bare Necessities was a way for me to deal with the mass removal, but I'm like, it just provides better value. And then on the bodyguard, it's actually relevant for the queen. The queen has such a weak body. Often I just bodyguard and I'm protecting my team, or even protecting Piglet. Like Baloo was very beneficial, and sometimes just play it in the ready state because you need a single thing. Maybe you have Ursula, Vanessa, you just have like Queen 1-drop Smee. Sometimes I won't bodyguard with Baloo. I'll just put it in the ready state. So I have a 3-drop that can sing. Maybe I didn't have Ariel. So don't always just go straight to bodyguard mode. Maybe it might be beneficial to be in the ready state. So just remember, you don't have to put it strictly in the bodyguard state.
You could also suicide your Baloo to get that 2 lore.
Exactly, or even Zeusing it. Like sometimes there was a game where I was at 8. I quested for 18, and I just Zeused it to ensure that there's no way I could have lost. Like maybe my opponent could have died, for example. Like Baloo has a lot of tremendous value. Just don't think too linear where quest and bodyguard and have your opponent remove it. You can also remove it yourself, like you said. Just challenge and then just get rid of it.
Perfect.
For aerials,
Standard.
I will preach this forever. The key to playing Steel Song effectively is to really turn 1, turn 2, really analyze how the board state is going to be on turn 3. You should be thinking like, is this an aerial game? Is this a Lawrence game? Is this going wide? So I just implore, if you want to advance as a Steel Song player, consider inking Ariel at times because it is just a maleficent, quote unquote. It can't whiff, and sometimes Singer 5 isn't what you need in the current game state. You need the bigger bodies. The 2-3 stat line isn't that strong in comparison to Pete, in comparison to Lawrence. So again, I know you had to play Ariel. It's so good, but if I want players to really advance at Steel Song, inking Ariel is something I've done commonly throughout my experience with Steel Song in the past two DLCs. World's Greatest Criminal Mind. Ruby Sapphire was the top deck this weekend, and it did help a little bit. The Queen interaction, I'll be honest, didn't happen too often. It is there. It is a lingering threat. Being inkable, again, is very effective. And a couple times in the mirror match, I did Criminal Mind by posing Cindy Stouthearted.
Oh.
So it has its uses, but it's just I was really worried about Ruby Sapphire, and it played a role. I think moving forward, it is necessary because of how prevalent Ruby Sapphire is. Because when you're playing the Ruby Sapphire matchup, there are times where they're just using one Tamatoa to like quest to get the popsicle a couple times. They're not really diming questing to get dime and then everything. Like if you could clear that Tamatoa, you may shut off their ability to stabilize. So I in the past I've been very hesitant with Greatest Criminal Mind, but I think with Ruby Sapphire being so prevalent in this format, you need to play it. I was more of like playing Zeus's and just outbattling, but with Tipo really accelerating Ruby Sapphire, often Ruby Sapphire expends all their resources, and they rely on Tamatoa to sort of be left unchecked, where it could just gain tremendous value through popsicles for the next 3 or 4 turns, not really providing enough pressure via dime. So Greatest Criminal Mind is very effective now.
Okay.
For Let the Storm Rage On, very typical, but again with these songs and strength. But again, I implore all Steel Song players to consider damaging your character and healing up Rapunzel because there's so much a big tempo swing, and then you'll be like, oh baby, I'm using my songs that I can banish my opponent's character. But if you draw 2 to 3 cards, there's a high probability you're going to draw additional songs that could deal with their opposing characters. So
you just got to analyze the match.
Exactly. Three Zeus's again, very typical. I did play 4 on Friday. It is wrong just because Ruby Sapphire is just so prevalent. If it was a strictly Steel meta, Emerald Steel Song, I would play 4. But if your meta's very diverse with Ruby Sapphire being a main figure, go down to 3. Rapunzel, as I've been saying, damage your own character.
Guys.
Also, just hard casting it. It's a 1/5 body. Most decks cannot deal with it, and especially if you're going the wide approach, it provides a lot of pressure. For Queens, as I said before, I believe Queen is the right approach currently because of how 3 ink is very saturated at the moment. And Singer 5 on turn 2 is amazing, and you're able to control the game state. Some players have asked me how often do I do the whole new world combo.
Just about to ask you. You read my mind.
On the play, I don't. So before I answer that, let me go to like how I mulligan. I often will just mulligan to get the shift combo. But if I have a whole new world, I often just toss it. I really don't care about getting all that advantage. I care more about dictating the board. I could Zeus whatever. I could let the Storm Rage on, or I could just challenge me. It's the biggest body. I want to control the board state. I know if I play Ariel, there's a probability I'll have a whole new world. I want to cast a whole new world, singing with my Ariel, have Queen still be the biggest body on the board, and then I could Zeus it, or I could just play a bunch of characters. I could better analyze what I should be doing the next few turns. Let Ariel be the singer for a whole new world, and let Queen stay in the back. And Queen is a 4/3, which is very necessary in this format with Medusa being so prevalent. It was and Robin Hood's 3 attacks, so Medusa obviously wants to always banish Robin Hood. So that 4 attack has been very critical with throughout the whole weekend.
Okay.
For Whole New World, I'll cite one game that ensured that I would top this weekend. I was against Ruby Sapphire in round 6, I believe, and I held a Whole New World throughout that whole game. I knew if I hold New World, and I didn't have any Singer 5, my opponent has so much tempo swing. So please, only Whole New World for 5 when you're desperate. Like I held it. I really allowed my Pete's and my Queens 1 drop to like just gain all the lore I needed. We were both on top deck mode. I did not want him to give he had the advantage. I sometimes see from afar that some newer Steel Song players just cast this for 5, and that's definitely something you don't want to do. Um, Another thing, there's been a rise in the Gaston build, or even Prince Naveen's. One omission in my deck is Prince Naveen.
Hmm.
The reason I don't play Prince Naveen is I never want to cast Prince Naveen with a whole new world. I want to cast Prince Naveen as a removal spell. Let's Storm Rage on Zeus, Strength. If I'm casting a whole new world, I lost the game. My opponent has access to all those 7 cards first. I want to cast Zeus, then next turn, whole new world. So I'm already in a bad position. So yeah, I omitted Naveen because of that. I felt at times it was so it forced me into very awkward situations. It is also uninkable. It sounds a little weird, but it actually makes Strength of a Raging Fire another uninkable because you want to cast Naveen with tempo. If you're playing Naveen, you're forced to never ink Strength of Raging Fire at times. And I want it to be like I love Steel Song because it's so fluid. Each game feels different. I don't have to ink a certain way. I don't have to casting a certain way. I felt with Naveen, it made me very rigid, and I just wanted the fluidity that I could just ink Strength of Raging Fire and just play my game, go wide. But with Naveen, I always felt I had to keep it and ink other targets because what is the point of Naveen? I'm going to cast it as a 4-drop Singer 6 that has no value. So definitely do not cast a whole new world for full 5 unless you have to. And Naveen, I believe, isn't that strong this format, and especially with Emerald still being in format. Pete, Ursula's just discarding your hand. Like you're often just casting as a Singer 6, and that's not good value. And because I removed Naveen and I'm willing to ink Strength of the Raging Fire, I found Cindy Stoutheart more playable. And
Okay.
Las Vegas, I'll be honest, I was considering cutting this because I often never reach that 5 ink threshold, or I'd be inking stuff that I'm like, I don't know. But this whole weekend, I actually cast this very often
Ooh.
because I'm no longer forced to hold on to certain cards. So definitely, and Cindy wins games on her own.
It's resist too, so obviously, like that's really hard to deal with.
And just challenging stuff in the ready state. With Emerald Steel, with Prince John, Cards of Ward. This is one way to deal with all those steel matchups. So, I think Cindy Stoutheart is another reason to play Steel Song. And you want to have ways to play it. So, I felt cutting Naveen allowed me to regularly play this, and it happened throughout the whole weekend.
Okay. Is there any shout outs you want to give?
I want to shout out to Ducky and Monkey, various members of the team's Luxury. They were hospitable and great playtesting partners this weekend, and I'm glad that the New York area again supported me throughout the whole weekend, and just meeting a lot of my favorite DLC competitors. There's someone I've met in Dallas, Top 64 Judy, someone I talk to regularly, and it's just great to see like familiar faces. I really love the Lorcana community being very warm and welcoming. So every time I go to a challenge, I had a lot of like taps, like thank you for teaching me how to play Steel Song. Um, one of
Constructed. If you would like to play some on-demand Constructed, we will be launching the final pods of Constructed at Side Event Banner. If you would like to participate or trade your ticket, you have 10 more minutes. This is the final call.
I was very thankful that the Lorcana community is very warm, just thanking me for like I do give a lot of input through your deck profiles and sometimes on various discords on how to play Steel Songs. So a lot of players are just coming out to me like thanking me for like just showing them like a different method of playing Steel Song, thinking no longer tunnel vision, expand what you aim, expand how you challenge, how you quest. And one of our top 4 competitors who's still competing thanked me, and I'm like, no, man, I didn't really teach how to play Steel Song. Like, you earned it. You're in the top 4. You won a Mickey. So he was just like really grateful that I was like, he really listens to some of my advice that I've given in the past, and I'm just like, the Lorcana community is a really good community, so I'm just glad to be a part of it. And you'll be seeing me in Continentals. I'll be honest, if I'm running Steel Song, probably not the best choice of all the stuff I see in set 6, but I'll do all the play testing beforehand to see if I can make Steel Song work, but no promises there.
Okay, thank you guys for watching. Bye.